Oh, we were muted. I keep on doing that each time I do these things. Like we
Oh,
get
it's
muted.
all good.
Yeah, whenever we do these intros, we have to mute mics and remember to put them back on. So, hey Seth, what's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot. Hanging out. Uh,
Yep,
Glad to have a break from the bees for a few minutes anyway.
because yesterday we went in there. We've been out there yesterday. Not much today. Got to do some more splitting here soon to get ready for that.
Yes,
Because
sir.
bees are, because especially if it's warm weather, bees are going to be, ready to keep on making swarm cells. So I'm on top of that, along with my, I've been trying some different methods and
Hmm.
raising some queens. So we're gonna see how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing in your apiary? You been working on splits or queens or?
Well, I've been really trying to keep them knocked black so they don't swarm before I have to split them. I'm doing my first round of splits this weekend. Last weekend was mostly about treating
Yeah,
early spring mite treatment and just making sure they were okay and weren't going to swarm on me.
yeah,
So kind of the same thing, not quite splitting yet, but getting real close.
yeah. We're definitely close. I splitted one of my hives, and they're small, but I think that one good thing about us down south, we can put one or two frames of bees in there, and slowly by this, let's just say April, they'll be a big colony. So that's gonna be something good to go with. And I'm soon gonna start splitting. I'm gonna kind of wait a little more. We actually yesterday was our first time for in one of our hives, and I was in there a week or two before, and I was looking in there. There was no drones, but yesterday
Mm.
there was just a whole bunch in there.
Oh,
So
well,
that's good
good.
because especially drones in there means I can start raising queens
Hmm.
here soon. So we're going to do that soon. We'll probably do it out on the first or second week of March. Like
Oh,
everybody
okay.
knows, along with that split I did, I'm raising some queen cells in there, and I'm going to cut off some of the queen cells, leave about one or two in there, and then use all the rest of them in splits or something. And
Absolutely.
I was in there a few days ago, or yesterday actually, and they have about, let's see, I'd say about 15 queen cells in there capped. I
Oh,
saw a
wow.
few capped, so that's what we're doing. I'm down here in Southeast Alabama. It's definitely game on because whenever I went in there, there's my best queen, my best hive is laying up those frames full of broods. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
we're doing like I'm getting ready for some more mite treatments. I'm already treating
Oh,
for some mite on some of the halves. Another early mite treatment before the real flow kicks in because I find that treating before the flow is pretty good. Like once you get those mites down, you can don't have to worry about them until fall. So
absolutely.
real quick early treatment. And now, as many as people know, I just uploaded a video yesterday, but on one of my halves, my Russian halves, their Russians are pretty good at handling the varroa mites and stuff. But whenever I check them, they have about like 15 something
Oh,
mites.
wow. That is
That's
high.
that is like whenever it only took me a few shakes, I looked down there. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just too many mites in here. So I got some Apigard on the way. It's not here yet, so that's one thing I'm curious about. But that's what we're
Oh, I
doing.
got you.
I guess right now many people are buying up stuff.
Yeah.
That's why equipment and
Oh, yeah.
beekeeping businesses are getting backed up on stuff.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yep. It's busy time of year for everybody.
Yeah,
Apigard was a good choice because it can I don't know if it always does, but I know in warmer temperatures it'll actually shut the queen down for about a week. So that'll
yeah,
help with your swarm management as well. That was a good choice.
yeah. I think a few things are good with it within stopping the queen. I've heard
Hmm.
different things about that, and I think it's all true because whenever sometimes people cage the queen in the hive, like take
Hmm.
a little round thing, stick it where the queen is. That
Yeah,
breaks the brood cycle within the queen, and those mites will be in the cell. So do all the math, you'll find something where you have less mites if you break the brood cycle. So
yeah,
if it does do that, then that's something good. To slow her down,
absolutely.
kill a lot more of the mites. So
Yes. Oh, yes.
because whenever I was doing my mite treatments, I've only really used Apivar. So one thing people don't really know is that last year was actually my first year treating because before that I was seeing if I could, do it natural kind of, but it just didn't work
Yeah.
out. No. So then I decided, oh, I'm just gonna go and I have some Apivar strips laying around. I was like, I'm going to treat them. and I'm doing this little experiment that between my Italian halves, like I have one half that's booming that I treated during the fall. One of them I didn't. So there's a big, I can tell a big difference in between the both, because the one I treated, it's one of my best halves. They're producing so much. The queen's great, so much. They have a lot of, let's just say, a lot of bees. My other half, for instance, whenever they went into fall, they had a full load of a deep box full of bees. But whenever I came out of that cold spell, which was like about 2 months, I would say, they're like only supported. So they're only like on, let's say, about 3 frames of bees. Say from that big old box, it kind of closed in. So that's just kind of a theory I'm kind of testing out, because I really like to do a lot of kind of experiments within the bees. I think that's something really good to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because I think that's something I've been sharing with other people. That's another reason why you may want to decide to start treating for mites like I did. It will definitely pay off, and you won't lose as much bees.
Oh,
Because,
of course.
The row mite is something. It
Oh,
definitely kills. So, because we haven't found much. We have like VSH bees.
Yeah.
All these different types of bees, but nothing that can actually full on be resistant to mites.
No silver bullet yet.
Yeah. But we're soon, maybe one day in the future, we will definitely see something like that.
Oh yeah.
Carry on. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what we're kind of doing down here. I guess y'all are doing kind of the same. Because we're a little bit, because I know y'all are more up north, right? And
just a little bit. I forget what latitude we are. Y'all are pretty low down that way. It's got a little bit to do it.
We're pretty low.
Yeah.
I have a phone. I probably could, look at the little, I'll do
elevation.
that real quick. The elevation.
Yeah, I always like to hear what everybody's at, because I'm not real great at geography, but it's kind of interesting knowing how high everybody is. We're at like, most of our bee yards are at 18 to 2,200. We've got some down towards 14 and 15. I've got some closer to 12 and 13. And then the one down in Hayhira, I don't even know. It's pretty low though. But I think that's got a lot to do with how far your bees come along and how fast too.
That's right. We're I just checked. We're like 390.
Oh yeah, so y'all are pretty good and low then.
Pretty low. We're not really in the mountains. We're just on flat. We have a lot of hills,
Oh, rolling hill type deal.
Kind of. We don't have too many hills, but we do have some hills that go, just a few hills, but nothing serious. But where we're kind of at, it's pretty flat.
Oh well, that's good. That makes beekeeping easy.
Yeah, it does. Another thing that now I guess I can share with everybody, but especially times whenever people see in my bee yard, especially when I'm doing videos, that's like in this photo behind us, you can see pine trees in background, and that gives you a hint that our bee yard, we're in the woods. Like we have a lot of pine trees. And a lot of good things about that is whenever I'm out in the bee yard, there's not much sun. So I'm not as high. Of course, it gets 100 degrees sometimes down here. So working in a bee yard, where it gets pretty hot. I wear a full suit, so I want to get so it gets pretty hot, but we usually deal with it because we don't have to go out there as much, because we don't have as many halves. If we had more like you or Bob does, then we'd probably have a bigger situation.
How many do you have?
Oh yeah, that's when they're. We have about 5 halves. Actually, right now we have 6, including some
sweet
nukes.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like a small amount, but that's something good. So then, on my plan is to expand to about 12.
There you
from
go.
there, if I get 10 out of winter, go up to 20. I think that's something cool about these. You as long as you have a good number coming out of winter, you can always split them, and before you know it, you'll be at 50 halves. You'll be at 100.
Oh yeah.
So it grows pretty fast.
Yes.
How many halves do you have?
I have about. I just did a few splits the other day, and I don't like to count those until I know they're queen right. But counting those, I've probably got around about 80 right now. I'm back
80?
up to 80. Yep.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
Same with me. Like right now, I have with queens in it, I'd say about 5, including my split. But then my queenless they're making queen cells, so I have a good hope that they're gonna be able to do it.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
count about 6. Going into winter, I'd say we about had 6 halves. We lost one, which that's an 80% survival rate. I'll take that any day.
Oh,
Because
that's pretty sweet.
that's right. Because the only reason why that one died was it was just like a real small cluster, which it probably could have survived if I had put a candy board or some kind of more feed on them. They probably could have
I
started
gotcha.
building up more. But since I didn't, they ended up getting robbed out. And there's
Yeah.
in the bottom board there were not that many bees. I just didn't see. But
Yeah.
recently went back on the bottom board of that did have, and I was looking closely. I found the queen and a few scattered bees. So
Ah, interesting.
it was like a real small. One thing I
Yeah.
am pretty surprised about it was like just like a less than a handful of a cluster. They we had that during December, right before Christmas, we had that extreme cold blast. I bet you guys got some of that. Like we had
Yes, we did.
down, we got 6 degrees with wind chills, and we had water pipes busting and all that kind of stuff. So that was something many beekeepers up north are like. We deal with
Oh
that
yeah.
but down here, that's a big old alarm for us.
Yeah,
But
man.
lucky enough, that small little hive survived that cold blast. But it was a week after that, they kind of
Oh,
died.
I got you.
So it's just
Eventually
some.
got to him.
It eventually, but I think 5 hives is something good to come out of winter.
Oh, absolutely. No, 5's a good starting spot.
That's right. But that's a good growing spot. But that's kind of what we're doing. I think it's gonna be because a lot of times whenever I'm doing videos, I'm kind of filming what I'm doing. A lot of
Yeah.
times I will share information that I know that's right. But a lot of times I'll just show everybody what I'm doing, like inspecting, splitting halves and stuff. So it's been a rolling since because we started having this warm temperature around February, and once we saw this warm temperature, we thought this is not going to last. It's definitely going to get back cold but for right now, we're still having some good weather throughout a few weeks. So that's gonna be good for the bees. Bees are loving it. Like every day I go out there, we're bringing so much pollen. Pine trees are blooming.
Oh,
That kind
wow.
of stuff.
Well, the last time I went to Hayhira, I seen the pine trees down there blooming. So down yonder and over where you're at must not be too awful bad different.
No, it's there's a lot of pine,
Yeah.
a lot of pine trees, and then along with that, there's a lot of pollen up in
I
those
got you.
trees, and it tears up allergies down here.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
we have oak. We have oak. We have a lot of different types of trees that bloom, and our bees have a good variety sources to go out to.
Oh,
Because
well, good.
what something I find interesting is what they can do. They can just if they had a choice, and because a lot of times bees like to travel a little farther, but if they wanted to, they could just go up I'd say about a few feet, go up to a tall pine tree that's right beside them. There's pollen right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere. Like we see it like on our cars, our house, on top of our
Absolutely.
house. So that's what we're doing. It's really good. I'm excited for this year because I've kept
Oh,
bees
yeah.
about this is probably my 7th year going into it.
Oh, wow.
I would say maybe 6 years, and that's a pretty long time. I was pretty young. I was pretty young back then, so I don't remember too much.
Wait till you get my age and up, buddy.
Yeah,
You'll be wanting to relive them days.
definitely.
That's cool,
So
man.
I guess tonight we're going to talk about a few different things. What you're doing, a few different things. So first thing I wanted to quickly discuss is whenever you do your mite treatments, what's your strategy for doing that? Do you have a preferred strategy of treatments, timing? What's your kind of thoughts on that kind of thing?
So I'm not technically partial to one product, but I like oxalic acid in the wintertime when the bees go broodless. I don't know that y'all over yonder where y'all are actually get a broodless period.
Yeah, we never do. We have a lot of
Yeah,
breeds coming,
that's what I
so
was thinking. Which
it's
you
hard to
could
get.
do a couple. What's that?
Oh, it's hard for us to even get a oxalic acid in because we have a lot of brood. In
Yeah.
winter,
Oh yeah.
the bees, the queen, they just lay brood all the time.
Yeah. That's good in a way until you got to treat for mites, and then it makes things a little complicated.
That's right.
But my favorite way is probably to oxalic acid vapor in like the third week, at like right around Thanksgiving up where we are is a good time to start vaporizing. This year, however, all of our bees didn't quite go broodless, so we're going to have an early spring treatment. And for that, I like something that's going to shut them down for a little bit. Nobody has seen it yet, but when I took a trip down to Hayhira Thursday for the graft, I threw on some Formic Pro, and Friday when I go back, or Saturday when I bust into them, I'm going to see how it went, if they're alive and not cooked, hopefully. But that or Apagard. Apagard's a good one. Something that'll, not necessarily, if your colonies are small, I wouldn't recommend it because, like we were talking about earlier, it shuts the queen off. But, if they're getting ready to bust out at the seams and ready to swarm, you need something to bay her off a little bit. And I've heard Formic does that. I don't know if it does or not. We'll see when I get back down there if there's no eggs in my colonies or, young larvae or anything. And then I know Apagard does, though. I've got a little bit of experience with that product. And probably an Apagard in the spring. And if you're riding with one, an Apagard in the fall and then an oxalic acid in the wintertime, or maybe an Apravar in the spring and then maybe an Apagard in the fall, definitely getting some kind of shutdown with some mite treatment in there, because you're killing two birds with one stone in a way. You get a brood break and you get a mite treatment. So
what I was using was Apivar. I found some good success with that. It does pretty good. Now I'm going to do some Apagard because I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to rotate kind of.
Yeah.
If you're in, like, one thing I know a lot of people say, and I think that's mainly it's true, because a lot of times if you're going to use one treatment continuously, like, the mites can, not always, but they can build resistant to that treatment that you're using. So I kind of I'm going to try to rotate this spring. I did use some Apivar on some of the halves, but soon I'm going to use some Apagard whenever it comes in and put it on the halve and on different, because I like to do different things. I think it's one of the best things to try different things.
Oh, absolutely.
I've heard good things about some other things like like Hop Guard and Formic Pro, but I'm gonna try to kind of stay to like Apagard and Apivar and maybe get an oxalic acid, because I think those are the top picks.
Oh yeah,
because I've heard a lot of things about Formic Pro being good, but I've never used it before. But
yeah.
I really like Apivar, because all of them have their pros and cons. Because Apagard is temperature sensitive. You have especially for us down here, we have fluctuating temperatures. So like once we're kind of coming in this stage, it'd probably be a good time to go and put some Apagard on, because we're not having really 100 degrees. But like once we get in summer, we can have days 90 degrees. We can sometimes sometimes in around summer we can have 89 degrees, 85, and then we'll go back up to 100. It just goes back up and down and all that different stuff. So that's one con about it, but there's a lot of pros. But I think a lot of times it depends on what time you're using it. Like right now would be a great time in Alabama to go and put some Apagard on. But definitely. But a good thing about Apivar is that it's not temperature sensitive.
Oh, of course.
Because a lot of times people don't really want to mess with anything that's temperature sensitive. But I'm willing, because a lot of times people just want to stick it in there, don't worry about the temperatures, all that different stuff. Like
of course.
And then Apivar allows people to do that. I think all of them are have some kind of pro and con in them, but don't waste your money on Apagard. It stinks, messy, and not good results. Yeah, I've heard the same thing about Apagard. That's not good.
Well, I mean, I get both sides, because they're, you're temperature sensitive, and the way we like to do it, we put a rim on the top, and,
that's right.
And, if it is hot, we found that if you just reduce the dose by about 50%, it works pretty good. You just kind of got to be careful a little bit. And,
because I think it works a lot of times. That's what I always say. Sometimes it works at that moment, and sometimes it
Yes.
won't at a different time.
Yep.
Something funny about
Exactly.
the light treatments, it's always different depending on your temperatures, humidity. I bet humidity is something that's really, temperature, what day you're using. It's just all different in seasons. So sometimes you'll get good results, sometimes you'll get bad. I've heard the same thing with Apivar, that
Oh, yeah.
some people like Apivar didn't work good at all for some people. Like
Yeah.
for Bruce here in Alabama, he said it worked great for him, and for some other people, I heard that it didn't work it didn't really work any good. So, and I know Bob Binnie, when we had him on our chat, he said, that one time Apivar, let him down,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Majorly.
I
It
mean,
was,
a lot of times that's why you want to make sure, go back and test and make sure that works. You don't want to waste
yes,
your money.
absolutely.
You don't want to waste your money on something
Yep.
that does not work.
Yep.
So,
Exactly. Because
okay, you got
usually when people figure it out, the damage is done. The bees are crashing, or
yeah,
something went awry somewhere.
yeah. We got a question here from Craig. He says, Seth, how many rounds of Everguard do you all use at the lower dose?
So it's the same amount of roundage. I think we'll do 3 rounds of Apagard, and if it just so happens to be warm weather coming for that week, we'll just go ahead and give them a half a dose. I think it's the same amount of effectiveness because it's a fumigant, so it's going to gas off the same. It may not last the duration of the full week at the half a dose, but you're still getting, the fumigation you need with the half dose. We have found that's why we do 3 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all different, especially because especially a lot of times, there's a lot of people in I know almost a lot of beekeepers in different states. You have people up in Ohio, Georgia, Alabama, down here. We have California. So whenever somebody's saying, okay, it doesn't work for me because my temperature is like this, it may not always be that for you,
Yes.
because I think that's something that I think that's what I always talk about. I think I hear a lot of people saying that. But it's always depending on where you live, your timing. Say if I'm watching say somebody up in Ohio doing a split in say May or maybe even June, because that's not the time for me to do it. For me, it'd be more like April through May,
Of course.
maybe. And right now, we probably could do some splits. I do have one split, like I said earlier in the video, but anybody who didn't see that, I have a split, and the hive is doing the little nukes growing a little bit. So we're going to kind of keep on doing that, a Russian nuke. And we're going to do something. We're going to raise some queens, put them in an incubator, and that's basically what we're going to do for, queens. Now, that gets us to a next topic is, so whenever you guys do raise your queens, what is your preferred method? Because, you have starter, finisher, starter alone. What's your preferred method, or
I
in the one?
believe it would be the cell starter finisher, where you go in and I think they call it a dry graft. You just graft it straight out of the cell, and you put it in a cell cup, and then you stick it on a frame and put it in a queenless cell starter, and then you reverse the boxes a couple days later, and it's a queen right cell finisher. That is really one of the only methods I'm familiar with, other than the scraping thing where they start queen cells on the bottom or something.
Yeah.
But I like the cell starter finisher. And then it's the same process. It's just you pull the cells out a lot sooner. The 48-hour queen cells.
That's right.
Those work really good. The only thing about those is you got to have a big nuke, 3 frames plus with a 48-hour queen cell will finish that cell out beautifully. Anything smaller than that, and they kind of get a little meh.
That's right. That's one thing that I have I think many people watch my videos that you see what I'm doing is I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to kind of do the starter by itself. So what I'll do is I'll put my grafts in there. This is both of these halves I picked for choice are full of bees. They're a real the one I'm doing right now. Whenever I came in there a day later, they already had those 15 queen cups built, kind of drawn out. So 48 hours later, it would be the same. So then, if I didn't let them have any kind of, let's just say, eggs or larvae, then they'll start going to whatever larvae or young larvae that they find. So that Russian will be my starter. 48 hours later, take those grafts on the frame, put it in my finisher, which is basically 2 deeps and put a queen excluder between, and then put your grafts on the top deep. And then because it's already started, the bees are gonna generally go ahead and draw those out.
Yeah, of course.
And then I guess you wait about 8 days, and then come back those 8 days later, about a week, and then remove them. Do whatever you like with them. It's real similar to how you guys do it with the flipping, but there's no flipping. It's just kind of alone, like
2 separate units.
That's right, it's 2 separate units. So it's basically the same exact thing. The only thing I do different I had to get like a double screen board, and that's about it.
That's awesome.
It's basically it's pretty simple. Like a lot of times I was talking about in my video recently that it always does look kind of deceiving and harder whenever you think about it. But once you just kind of think it through, you're like, oh, this is nothing much.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because a lot of times, not just other people like me, for instance, whenever I was looking at this, especially Bob Binnie's video that he did on his videos, looking at it, I was like, oh, this is difficult going through my head. But then once I was able to process it, and then I finally figured it.
You get your hands dirty and you learn the process. Yeah, it don't take no time at all.
Yeah, it's pretty quick to learn how to do that. But now, whenever you do your whenever you get your cells out of them, what do you do with them? Do you put them in splits, or do you sell the cells?
Every once in a while, I'll sell them. I haven't done much of that. I might do a little bit of that this summer. But most of the time, they're going in a split or something to re-queen, maybe kill the queen and give them a queen cell, and
Right.
But for the 90% of the time, it's just a split.
Yeah, that's right. I think I'm gonna do some splits for my first round, and next round I'll put them in the incubator, and let them. And I've been trying to figure out some different things. I'm thinking I'm gonna get some mating nukes up, build some mating nukes up, sell some mated, sell some virgins, if whichever ones people want. Because there's sometimes people like mated queens, because there's a market for mated queens, there's a market for virgin queens. It just depends on what the beekeeper wants to use. Because a lot of times it's different with what they want, because a lot of people love virgin queens, and because they're not mated and they don't have all that genetic or all that smell in them. So sometimes it's easier for acceptance. I don't really know. That may be false. It just all depends on how mean your bees are. If your bees are more gentle, they probably could get like a mated queen in, simple virgin queen, both same. But if you have a real mean colony, like I don't know, there's a lot of people who have like big Russian colonies that are just mean. Then that might be something that you want to kind of figure out. Like what you could probably do is you probably could set up 2 Russian halves and put 1 virgin queen in one half, put a mated queen, see which one works better for a Russian. And then that's kind of like a little experiment again. So it's good to kind of see what kind of things are going to work, which ones works better. Like do mated queens work better? Do virgin queens work better? So I think it's just all depends on your bees, because I have some Italian and some Russian. So that gets us into another quick topic that I've been discussing for some other beekeepers. But what kind of genetics do you like to go through your queens? That also relates with queens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I love, and this is going to sound kind of complicated, but I love a thirds bee. I like a Carney and a Caucasian with a little bit of Italian in there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite combination of bee. The reason being is because you get, some propolis and some gentleness from the Caucasian. You get a little bit of the Carney dark looking, and then do the brood thing. And then the Italian, they get a wee bit of the brooding up early.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Not what's up now?
My Italians are good at that. Like I have an Italian.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My big they have at least 5. I'd say 5 frames of brood, and they did that. I think around January we had brood in there. So
yeah.
That's a good pick. So whenever you do mix your queens, how do you mix the genetics for each other? That's what I've been trying to figure out.
What I've been trying to do mostly is graft off of one of Bob's artificially inseminated queens and let it open mate around us. And he had Carniolan in his outfit. Most of my mating yards are right in around Bob's mating triangle. So I'm kind of not copying Bob, I guess, but getting a little bit of his stuff. And there's a lot of people that run Italians around us. So we get a little bit of that Italian influence as well. Not much, just enough to kind of keep some yellow queens in the outfit every once in a while. And then, there's some of the old Carniolan genetics hanging out from a couple years ago. And Bob's actually talking about wanting to introduce some Carniolan back into the outfit just to kind of bring in, a little bit of a more genetic makeup, not quite keep it running pure Caucasian.
Yeah, I think that's something. That's definitely good because I think Carniolans have some. I think there's a lot of pros that I hear about Carniolans. Of course, they overwinter in smaller clusters, but whenever you do that, the smaller clusters, I guess, sometimes don't eat as much, like food.
Mm-hmm.
My Italian box was full. Now this is something I talk about, and this is gonna sound shocking. So this was a warm day, and I put a candy board on. It's like 4 pounds. Just say I put a 4-pound bag of sugar in there. Within the next day, it's all gone.
Oh, wow.
And those bees are hungry, so Italians will eat almost everything up. And during winter,
Absolutely.
I was feeding some candy boards. Like, it's basically like a 4-pound bag, right? And you just put
Okay.
a wooden board and take a bowl and kind of, it's like hard candy. It hardens up. Leave it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I like to set up in a, I'd say about like a little storage room. I don't know really what the temperature. I'd say about 60, 70 degrees because it's basically a part of our house, but I'd say about 70 degrees whenever it's inside because that's where our room temperature is. But I keep it in there and I leave it about 48 hours. Come back, it's pretty much hardened up. I'll put it on the hive. And one thing I really do like about the candy boards is I like to sing. This is one reason why I also like single deeps better than double deeps because I can feed that single much closer because it's right above the brood or right above the cluster, so the cluster will be easier to feed. But if you had a double deep, if I were to want to put a candy board on it for insurance, it'd be up on the top deep, and if there's no bees up there, then that's just something that I've always been kind of fond of. Since this winter ended, I was looking at my small singles, just a single deep, and I was like, well, this kind of worked out for me. This configuration kind of worked out for me, and I really like that. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go with more singles. But I may I do have a deep on one of my halves. I have 3 halves that actually have now 2 halves that have double deeps. I need one of my halves I just need to take the double deep up, one of the deeps off because they only need 1 deep, because the only thing that I don't like about it is they don't need that top deep because they can't occupy all that space. So that's one thing with double deeps. You have to have enough bees to occupy that space. If not, then you just need to, you know what I mean. Because that's just what I do. Now, that gets me on a really separate topic. How long have you been keeping bees, Seth? Real quick.
Oh, so I've been doing it since I was in high school, which was like 2016 probably was when I started. I got out of it for a couple years when I went to college. And when COVID hit, I came home and I needed a job. So I got up with Bob, and the rest is history. I just started keeping bees and, been doing it the way I'm doing it now for about 3 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've kept bees about, I'd say, since I could say about 2017, but I've been, I kind of went out of it a few times because at that time I wasn't really like set on it. I was just using as a hobby. Sometimes I go out there and I do chickens because we have like guineas and chickens. We like to do that stuff. But now I'm kind of focused more on the bees. Today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How many chickens you got?
Well, we have, I'd say, about 15 hens.
Oh, okay. That's a good bit.
But that does include our 2 roosters that we have.
Yeah, I got you.
And then we also have, let's see, we have about 7 guineas.
Oh wow,
they're loud. Like, and almost
yeah, they're good guard dogs.
Yeah, they'll definitely keep stuff away. But
hey,
if there is a dog, a hunting dog, that dog will get them. Those guineas, they'll try to at least. But they're pretty loud in all my videos. At some point, you're gonna hear squawking in the background. So I do need to get a mic and kind of get better audio. But I think for the time being,
oh yeah, it's all
because there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of things you can actually do with YouTube kind of stuff and audio, video. One thing I like is my camera that I'm using. Like right now, I'm using it as a webcam. I just figured that out like a week or two ago, like how to use it. And I was trying to figure out how to use this camera because I really liked this camera as a
Yeah.
webcam. And then finally figured it out and kind of got it all hooked up. And then here we are. We use a Canon Rebel T7. The one thing I do really like about it is it's kind of cheaper than most cameras because you can buy cameras for the sky's the limit, right? Because there's just so many different.
Oh yeah.
And you could get one of the best cameras, and they're just expensive. But by
Yeah.
far with this camera, it's not that expensive, and I really like it because it just does everything I need. So, but there's a lot of things.
No, that's sweet. I've got
Yeah.
one that's built into my computer. Back in 2018, this computer was pretty high tech, but I think it's a little outdated now.
Yeah, definitely. But okay, let's see. I want some Caucasian bees to see if they bring in a different nectar source for a different profile and honey flavor. Yeah.
I don't know that they would bring in a different nectar source, but I do know that they fly when it's colder. Like instead of like 50 degrees, they'll fly at like 43, 45. And even I think one of the guys I work with said he saw his flying at like 40. I could be wrong about that. Yeah. So
I've heard that they do that, and that's pretty cold. My Italians, there was one day it was pretty cold. It was like 50 degrees to high. My Italians were still flying in. I saw bees coming in with pollen.
Oh yeah.
During that degree day. So a lot of times they'll do that. I don't know where they got the pollen because that was during. Let's see, we had some real warm weather before that, but then right on the weekend, it went from here. It just went straight down like a roller coaster, and then we were down here in 50s, low 20s, 30s.
Oh wow.
So it's just a big roller coaster, and we were like, what happened? But it suddenly right after that it warmed up. It only lasted for a weekend.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
That's one thing that I always tell people. Why do I feed, what I feed, like candy bars and stuff? And I say,
Yeah.
well, the main reason is because we're down here in the south, even though we don't have that major temperatures, there's a chance where we will have like a 50-degree day, 30-degree day. That's not too bad. We could go down to a 30-degree day, just all different. It's like a big old roller coaster. We could have we could have a 70-degree day in winter. Then it just goes right down back to 50 or 40 where the bees are back clustered. So I feed that because a lot of times whenever it warms up, they fly all the time. You get all that flight in them, and then while they do that, they eat a lot of food to do that. And then once the cold weather comes back, then what happens is the bees may starve out because they don't have all that honey. I think that can happen more with singles, like my single that I overwintered. So it can definitely happen with them. But with a double deep, I think they should be okay.
Yeah.
Just
for sure.
Fast they're eating. But with a single, they can starve out pretty quick.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's what I do. Whenever winter comes and fall, what do you feed in your apiary?
So I like to go liquid as much as I can, but I've actually done a little bit of solid in the spring before just to get some small ones through. But the way I like to do it, if everything goes as planned, I like to feed as thin as possible to get them as fat as possible before it starts getting too cold. Yeah. If I'm running a little behind, I'll thicken it up to like 1.5 to 1 sucrose syrup and try to get them fat. Then there's an art to feeding that way. You kind of got to get them fat, but you still got to let them maintain that winter bee cluster going in so they can have the bees to survive the winter. Because if you plug them out before they get to raise their winter bees, you're going to kill them. But if you don't feed them enough, then they're going to starve. So there's a happy medium of feed and not to feed.
Yeah, that's right. I think feeding's a good thing. I really like to put a little protein on them, but especially in fall, because get them brood. I know you guys like to in fall. You guys feed a lot of earlier, right? You guys feed a little earlier, and Bob's a little earlier, and then and right whenever it kind of turns around November, December, you guys stop.
Yes. Yeah.
Completely. Yep. Yeah. That's I think that's because especially because once you put all that feed on them, you have a lot of food in there. Sometimes they'll backfill it, and a lot of times you got that queen laying a lot of brood, and you make sure they have good food in there. So then that's basically it. what I do, like I said, around, I'd say before I started feeding candy boards, I started feeding a little 1-to-1 sugar water, just a
Yeah.
little bit. Much. But then I started putting some sugar in there. Now, before I did candy boards, what I do is, this is a method that I heard nobody do. There may be a person, but I may be the one who invented this idea. It's basically kind of like the Mount Camp method. What you do is, take like a little 4-pound bag of sugar, put
Yeah.
water, stir it up, and then set it in there. Let the bees do what they want. And once I did that, the bees loved it. And then I was figuring out a way I could actually take it and put it on the board to make it easier. And I finally kind of figured that out. And then what I do is I'll put some sugar, granulated sugar, in a little bowl, put some water in there, put protein if I need to, stir it up pretty good, because the more you stir it, it gets more thicker, and pour it on the
Of course.
board. And then once you pour it on the board, 48 hours later, I put it on the hive.
Huh.
So that's something interesting that I was trying out. And there's not many beekeepers in my area, I don't think, in Alabama, that use candy boards. And I think that's something cool to kind of test out, see what it works. Does it work good? And I mean, it worked pretty good. Those bees were brooding up whenever I did that. So that's something good, because whenever you're feeding all winter, that gets them to the point where right whenever you're starting to kind of warm up, they brood up. And
Yeah,
that kind of
absolutely.
paid off a lot, because whenever because like in this back picture, if we weren't here, you can see there that's the box, that's the hive that I really like, and they're just full of bees. They have a good mite. Like whenever I checked them, they only had like 4 or 6 mites. I put some Apivar on them, so. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to kind of. That's kind of what I like to do. That's what I feed, because there's a lot of different methods, like 2-to-1.
You solely feed the sugar bag deal, or
So at first I would put like sugar bags, like that worked pretty good for a little bit, but to the point where like I liked it on a board. So when a lot of people ask me, like, how long does it take for your, whenever you were using these sugar blocks, I call it, it's basically like a sugar block, but I keep them in a bag and put water in there, stir it up a little bit, and
yeah.
they eat it within like a maybe 2-week period.
Oh wow.
Maybe even less, depending on how hungry they are.
Oh, of course.
So I think that's like a real good method if you have a double deep. What I did was I had a double deep. I put some sugar on the top deep with a little super. So what that does, if they at some point go up to the double deep, they run out of food, they have that on the top to go to. So it's like a double insurance plan for me. And a lot of times during warm weather, they'd come up there and snack on it, which is good. So
Yeah.
that's what I kind of do. That's what I feed. I know sometimes it's a little different than some people, but I know a lot of people who do that method. It's basically like, I'd say it's basically like a sugar block. It's just spread out along the board. It fits on perfectly on top of the hive. But
I got you.
that's
Interesting.
the next
So
thing.
you said you put protein in there as well. Do you just throw a little dry pollen in there, or what do you do with that?
Oh, that's something that I sometimes say. So at first I was just using standard protein. I guess you buy at the market, but then I started not using that. What I now use is Apis Biologics. I know you probably heard of it before.
Oh yeah, the rocket fuel.
Phil,
I got
it
right here on my desk. Let's see. I got the
Biocontrol.
Earl gave me these. What's up, Earl? Which one is it? The bioactivator goes in the pollen, or is it the other one?
I'd say I was using Bioactivator for it, but then somebody told me in the comments that, or what was it? I think in the comments they're on a live stream, but you actually supposed to use Biocontrol in it. So,
I see. I got you.
But it doesn't. I don't think it really made any difference. The bees like it, however. So
there you
put it in. And that time, whenever they ate it within a day, I put that rocket fuel in there, and I could tell that they liked it. Right now, I'm not really feeding much. I have some sugar blocks on them. I do want to feed a little bit more, maybe.
I got you.
Just to kind of keep them brooding, just in case or anything. And then I'll probably stop. I'm going to start feeding here soon, like in next week or two. Then I'm going to, probably start feeding. Actually, whenever I'm done feeding the sugar on my single hives, and I'll probably be done around let's just say second week of March, maybe. Third is third week of March, maybe even April at the end. Just all depends on if this warm temperature will keep on. I won't feed. If I see that there's a cold day, I'm gonna go ahead and put some sugar on them.
Okay, I got you. So you kind of nurse them through until. Oh, what's up, Bob? For pollen
Activator for pollen.
biocontrol is for liquid.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I see Earl put activator for pollen too. Okay. Yeah, Earl's an expert on that stuff.
I'm actually just started using that. And let's see, I started using that I'd say around January, right after Earl gave it to me because he gave it to me at half left. And
oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. He gave it to me, and I appreciate it. And I've never used it before. I've been wanting to kind of get my hands on some of that stuff and see how they really like it because I heard that you put it like open feed, but they love that stuff. So I'm gonna try to do some open feeding here soon.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people do that open.
Yeah,
open
absolutely. Down in Hayhira, that's all the big beekeepers do.
That's
the guy that's oh yeah, the guy that's putting me up down there, he'll rig up. What does he do? I forget what he runs down in, but he'll park a 55-gallon drum in the yard. And I don't know if he stacks cinder blocks up in there, and then he'll put a piece of plywood with a cinder block on top to keep the rain out. And he'll just fill it up whenever it gets empty. He'll fill it back up, and that's how they feed down there. I like to colony feed, but that takes a long time. And if you're running, 800-900 colonies, you don't really have time to go open feed this and that and the other. And so I get why they do it.
That's something big. If you have about how many colonies Bob has, and you have to go back each week to feed, that can be time consuming. You'll probably feed that a few days. Because 1,600 colonies, or Bob was at around, I guess last time I heard, 14,000 halves, 1,400.
I don't know. I think we're at like 15 and a half, 16, somewhere up in that spectrum. We might be down in the upper 14s. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I was watching a live somewhere recently with Bob was on it, and I heard that he was saying something around 14,000, 15,000. With some splitting, I guess, because I know you guys are just going to start splitting down in Bob's. So I guess it'd be about time for doing that. Because now, are you guys seeing any swarming right now? Or are you guys?
It's minimal to the north. They're wanting to bad though. Some of them are kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but they're getting very close to having the wheels spin off of them. We're having trouble getting to all of them before they decide to take off. We'll have it finished up. We'll be through the whole outfit in a couple days, and then we'll have to go back to square one. But it's going to be very interesting to go back because we haven't been back in 2 weeks, maybe. I think by the end of this week, it'll be 2 weeks before we come back to the south yard. So,
that's something that's swarming. I've been hearing, especially down in Louisiana, it's pretty big right now. And even with us, in Louisiana, I heard like let's see, a few people like Mike Berry, Mr. Ed, all those different
Oh,
bigger beekeepers down in Louisiana they're catching swarms, wild swarms.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
So if it's happening there, I'm expecting that's going to happen for us in about a week or two, maybe. If this warm weather will keep, then you guys will probably start around April, I would guess.
Yeah. Well, we're getting, let's see, we're getting a cold spell. So you're probably right. Maybe around the first week in April, we're going to see some swarms. It might be a little sooner because this year's freakishly early. We're like 3 weeks ahead of what we usually are. So, as per us not equalizing, you'd probably be right, or, we'd probably be a lot sooner, but with us equalizing and knocking everybody back, you're probably right on the tack there.
Yeah.
With the April 1st.
But one thing is about that, we can't ever, I'm not going to try to do that. That's one thing that a lot of people do is try to think ahead of time, like all the weather and stuff. But a lot of time, nature will do what she wants to do. And one day she may want to be a nice warm day, and one day she may say, okay, I want to become cold, and then here we are with 50
buddy. She's a fun gal to work with, that's for sure.
Yeah. Lee says that he's had one of mine swarm already. Yeah,
Kodak.
he's
Where's
in
he at?
he's in Louisiana.
Louisiana? Yeah, I got you. So it's swarm central down there. I
But
had
it's
about half of mine down in Hayhira. There was probably a quarter of them putting eggs in cups, and then half of them had developed swarm cells. Not quite had them capped off yet, but they were getting pretty close. So mine were getting ready to get to the Louisiana stage of the year.
yeah, exactly, because it's all different. Especially different states. Like I know Ohio, we're not seeing no swarming yet.
Oh,
For
yeah,
us,
no.
Illinois, Canada, all this, we're not
Yeah.
seeing nothing.
I
So I
think
know a lot of keepers up in Ohio and all those states wish they could get into their bees.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that's one thing to look at. Like for us down here, we're having rural warm Louisiana, but then whenever
Yes.
you look north, up north, their bees are still clustered. So that's something always
I know.
you can always think about that how you're ever people up north are just dealing with still more cold weather, and it's gonna be another month till we're able to split.
Oh,
But Mother Nature, and it's all
yeah.
different each state. Canada where Ian's at, but it's pretty cold up there.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Negative. I don't know what he does. I think it gets down to like negative 35 Fahrenheit or something. I can't remember what he said. I got to talk with him a little bit at Hive Life, but
yeah, I wouldn't like that. Yeah, Ohio has been warmer. I've been hearing from like Brian up there. He's
okay.
been unusual weather, like
Yeah.
warmer. What were the temperatures? He said I almost thought they were like around 50 or 60 degrees. I can't say
Oh,
for sure.
wow.
Somebody can correct me if I'm right, but I think it was like around 55 degrees.
I got you.
But a lot of times it's more colder.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
absolutely.
A lot of times it's more, warmer now
Yeah.
everywhere. That's something that you always can think about. That it's just warmer. It's because that's you. That's one thing that we're talking about. We're thinking that we're gonna have a early spring, and I hope we do, but you never know. We're not gonna.
Oh, right, of course.
Right whenever we say that, it's just gonna get cold. So we're not gonna
Yeah.
say I'm not nothing. So every time I sometimes it happens to me all the time when I say, okay, oh look, this nice weather. I bet it's gonna stay like this for this whole month. Right whenever I say that, it gets cold. So I
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of guessing. But from what I can see, maybe we will have an early spring. I'm hoping so. But we're just gonna see how everything plays out with Mother Nature. She'll do whatever she wants to do.
Oh,
We're just
yeah.
gonna have to play along with her game, right?
We're along for the ride, buddy.
Yeah. But that's the main thing that we've been talking about swarming because we're having some swarming, and I want to
Oh,
set
yeah.
up some traps. Now that gets us on a good topic. So whenever it is time for like swarming season, your apiary and Bob's apiary, what do you got? Do you guys set any swarm traps in your apiary and in the wild, or you guys just try to split and you don't worry about catching swarms in the wild? What's your kind
Well,
of
we don't trap at all. I wouldn't mind playing around with a few if I got time, but I'm not gonna have time this year. I'm gonna be busy.
yeah
Forgot what I was gonna say there. Oh, but me and Bob, if there's a swarm if we can stand on the bed of a truck and shake it into a nuke box, we'll
yeah
go for it. But otherwise, we don't really mess with them much.
I can see that.
I've
Because
got an idea of how to make a swarm shooter, but I don't know. I don't know. Once again, it's a time thing.
yeah, it's definitely time because especially for you guys
Yes.
and for Bob, because you guys have a lot of work on your hand, like with 1,400 colonies that you guys work with. I bet it because I would imagine that you guys don't really do much trapping because you got enough halves. Because I know Bob wants to backtrack just a touch, kind of stop growing. So definitely that's sometimes hard to do. Sometimes you say we're gonna stop growing, and then you start growing, and you're like, oh, so that got out of control. That can
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
easily. Whenever people say like Brian, I don't know if he's on the stream watching, but Brian, he wants to go up to 12. Or actually, he's already at 12, and he wants to go up to 15. But if he keeps on going, he has I think 11 halves. That's what I heard. If he keeps on going, he could go to 20. But a lot of times, whenever you say, "Okay, I'm gonna go to 15," that's all I'm gonna go. But a lot of times, you're gonna keep on growing, and you're gonna be like, "Uh oh, I just went too far," and to the point where you have so many halves and different stuff. I see that all the time, but it's sometimes funny to
Oh,
see
yeah.
that. For me, like we do like homeschool and all that stuff. We're out in the
Oh, cool,
country.
man.
We do a lot of fun activities. Like we like to hunt
Yeah,
things
buddy.
because we're on 40 acres of land. We have
Ooh.
we have a lot of squirrels around here. They always
Oh, yeah.
and where I'm thinking about a swarm trap is we have like a little creek, kind of like a little flow creek. That's a place where there's so much squirrels. They're up in the trees in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. And that's a good place. There's some big oak trees over there,
Oh, yeah.
and we have some big old some of our other pine trees are just a little more smaller,
Mm-hmm.
but we also have some that are like 40 years old, I'd say, maybe even 50.
Oh.
Because they're pretty old, they're pretty tall, they're pretty big, and I want to
Oh,
see
yeah.
where they're be in the next 40 years once they're 100 years old.
Oh,
As
yeah.
those trees last a long time, and they're good for bees. The bees love that stuff. So
Pine trees?
that's right, pine trees, just
Oh,
standard.
wow.
I think they call it southern leaf pine. I think something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of those. Yep. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Something
When
like that.
I
I can't tell
went
you.
to school, when I was in college, I went for wildlife management. I took dendrology and herbaceous cultures and all this, that, and the other. So I know a little bit about trees and stuff. I used to know a lot more, but I've forgotten it since I came home.
Because a lot of times, like a lot of people, like know there. Yep, that's it. Long leaf pine. That's what
Longleaf
we have,
pine.
and it
There's
is.
Well, I say that. There's a couple species that grow down that way. There's the longleaf, there's the shortleaf, and then there's I don't know if Virginias grow wild down there. They're the scraggly short things.
Yeah.
Um and then there's pond pines. You get a pond pine every once in a while. There's a couple different varieties, but the longleafs are the king down there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because like we see all like longleaf pine, they're like one of the main trees in
Yeah. Oh
Alabama,
yeah.
and we have a bunch of them. I was saying in one of my videos, I forgot which video because I do a lot of videos and record and edit. Sit here, remember my brain where I said which video I said that in, but one of them I said I think we may have around 150 maybe on our 40 acres, pine trees, maybe even more. Um,
Ah,
So what I think we did was, we planted little baby trees whenever we were like real young, but
there you go.
then they grew, and here we are all around our house, and the bees love it. And our apiary is in the woods. Like if anybody comes to visit our bee yard, if you walk up to our bee yard, we'll be going through trees, pine straw on the ground. And one thing I do really like, I love to use pine straw in my smoker. It works
Oh
so
yeah.
good. That stuff burns pretty good. And the good thing I was telling people was in my one of my videos that I think it was maybe the one of the queen ring videos I was doing. I was going out there, my first one. I was saying that what I can do is if sometimes when your smoker starts kind of going a little out, but it's still real warm in there, what you can easily do is go to the ground right around your hives, or maybe go a few feet away from your hive where you're inspecting, then take your pine straw on the ground, just push it in there. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to go back to your house and get any more. So that's a
Oh
good
yeah.
thing.
Absolutely.
For our apiary, we have pine straw on the bottom. The bad thing about it is there can be snakes rolled up in that stuff, so we got to be careful around that.
Yeah. I had a pretty good run in. Probably one of the closest run ins I've ever had with the snakes, which I'm not shy of snakes, but I've had to kill a few copperheads up our way, especially up towards the North Carolina side of our apiaries or stretch of bee yards. They like to coil up under the beehives next to creeks. Like if you have a bee yard that's kind of low, and they call it a riparian zone, but it's kind of like a hilly, drain-y type of spot. Anywhere that's kind of wet, copperheads love that kind of stuff, and some rattlesnakes too. So, if you go to reach down, if you're in the mountains or down by the creek, and you go to reach down and pick up a beehive, you might want to check before you go, because I went to tilt the back of one time, and the snake, the way I picked it up, it jumped through my arm and over my knee, and I almost said a few expletives, and that was a fun day in the bee yard. But anyway, so gotta watch out for snakes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Bees are not the only thing that get you out there.
Yeah. And one thing that we always have encounters with is because like now we like pests, like even though we have like varroa mites are pests to bees, but we also have like different ones, like yellow jackets. Yellow jackets are bad on the ground in our pine
Yeah,
straw.
buddy.
One time we're cleaning up a tree, and then I wasn't looking on the ground. I stumbled across this big old yellow jacket nest, and then they started coming from me, so I kind of up and ran from them because I don't really like yellow jackets that good. If it fails a bee chase me, I mean, I'm not really bees
Oh
are one
yeah.
of my bees are kind of different, but with
Yeah.
yellow jackets, you don't really care about them. You'll just go and kill,
Nah.
especially
They
they can sting continuously.
oh
So
yeah,
they're
absolutely. Yeah,
horrible.
nonstop. And they hurt a lot more than a honeybee. They've got a lot more, I guess, potent venom or something. They got a lot of different compounds in there, and that it
Yeah,
don't feel good.
it doesn't. Definitely doesn't. It doesn't feel good because it's more potent than a bee sting. Whenever I get stung by bees, a lot of times over people like their hand swells up big time.
Absolutely.
For me, I get stung on my finger. My finger stays the way it is. I don't really have
Oh,
that.
really? You're past the swelling.
Yeah, I don't really have much swelling. I've been stung
Awesome.
on the top of my lip before, and
Eh,
it never swelled up that much. Actually, that's something that I wonder how.
really?
It was on. Maybe it didn't hit my quite lip. It maybe it swelled to like a little puslet or something,
Ah,
but
I
it really
gotcha.
didn't swell up it didn't swell up that bad. So that's something I've kind of went through. Like I used to. Maybe my hands would swell up a little more because more times you get stung, more times you'll kind of get more used to the venom. Your body will get more used to the venom, and then it won't swell as bad. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah.
because that happens to a lot of people, and I know some people who were out in the beer with me and got stung on a hand, and hand swelled up big
Yeah.
time. Um,
Absolutely.
and it happens a lot of times. It's not like with me, I'm different because I honestly don't know. I can't really tell you. But a lot of times, maybe my family, one of my family members came out to be with me, um, got stung on because a lot of times he's my cameraman, my brother. Like a lot of
Cool,
times in my
man.
videos, like you'll see I have movement in there. But recently, I've been doing a lot of tripod stuff. But I
Yeah.
used
I
to
gotcha.
go back, scroll back. Vincent's usually my brother Vincent. He's usually back there, kind of cameramanning it, kind of that. We're gonna kind of start doing that a little more. I'm gonna try to incorporate that because more movement, you can kind of get more closer to the bees. It makes for a better video for people to know what's going on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. How old's your brother?
He's 10.
Oh, wow. So he's younger than you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool. My
yeah,
brother is, I've got a brother and a sister. I've got a younger sister and a younger brother. And my brother's your age, I think. He's 13 or 14. He
mm,
might be watching. If he is, Sawyer, comment how old you are. And I'd be curious to know. But anyway, yeah, man,
yeah,
that's cool. You bringing your family in and stuff. That's awesome.
that's right. We were another thing that like a lot of times whenever sometimes next year at Half Life, we were at Half Life this past year, 2023. It was just insane how many people were there. Um,
Oh, golly, that was a big deal up there, buddy. That was a lot of people.
and a lot and like I was trying to meet people, go around, and it was just hard to do because whenever I
Oh,
have
yeah.
because there's this big old crowd of people coming in going past, and if you're going to try to meet somebody that and you want to meet, then it's hard to find them, and it
Yeah.
gets
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
there's a lot of people who told me that they weren't able to get to see me, and yeah, it's hard to find everybody in there, but next year I'm going to try to this year I wanted to get a lot of more interviews, but since I was so busy I couldn't get that many interviews or
Oh,
anything.
yeah. I understand that. They had me running a hand truck the whole time. I was running and gunning. And what was funny is do you remember the big double doors where you walked into the vendor hall?
Yeah,
Our booth was the first booth as soon as
that's
you
right.
turned to the left. And
Oh
I
yeah,
had to walk all the way to the back.
yeah,
Multiple. It was fun, but that was it. I put a lot of miles on my shoes in that hand truck. I think they ended up having to redo the bearings on that thing after I got done with it. But
yeah.
it was fun. I had a blast.
Yeah, me too. It was one of the most. That was actually the first conference I've ever been to,
Oh,
and it was.
really? Oh,
Yeah, it
wow.
actually was. It's the first one, and I didn't know what I was going to expect. I heard that there was going to be 2,000 people going there, and I wasn't there the previous year. The previous year wasn't it like 900, 1,000 people. This year
Yeah.
it's 2,000. And who knows, next year it could be 4,000 if they wanted it to be.
It's going to be big. I think it's going to keep growing because the first year I went, it was like 900. It was year 4 last. And then this past year, it was like 2,000. And it was a madhouse, man. It's going
And
to
I've
be.
heard that there's like 600, 900 people on the waiting list to receive a ticket.
Oh, wow. Holy cow. Dang.
And
Oh,
if they were to let all those people have a ticket, then it would have been more like 3,000.
oh, yeah. It would have probably been the biggest bee convention in the nation, I think.
It probably would have been, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Havos was pretty fun. I met a lot of people there.
There was a lot of cool stuff there, too.
Yeah, we were able to look at booths and get some ideas because we want to try to start building some different things. Like we build our own bee boxes. We want to try to start 3D printing like bee frames and stuff. Like
oh, really?
It's something interesting that's gonna be fun. We're gonna see. We're kind of researching into that.
That'll be cool, man. I'd like to. If you get one, I'd like to have one. I want to see what they do and how they work.
Yeah, definitely. We're kind of still figuring it out, but once I do, I'm gonna try to start selling some and
There you go.
And another thing about that, you could, if you wanted to, you could use your own beeswax for that because a lot of times you use plastic wax. You could use beeswax instead if you wanted to.
Really?
I think so. That's what I was
interesting. I got you. I was about to say the way I thought of it, you could just make a plastic frame and then you could wipe the beeswax on it. But if you could just use regular old beeswax, hey, the more the merrier,
That's right. That's what we're still figuring it out. We're probably going to use plastic, and then a lot of times what you can do, a lot of times we have like, let's see. Oh, here we go. Like something like this, like a
drone frame.
And this is plastic, but what they do is they coat this with beeswax, so then the bees will be more used to it, and then it's basically another frame. So we're gonna check that out. We've been wanting to do that for a little bit, and we're gonna research into that.
Yeah, man.
Something because like right now, wooden frames are just pricey. Like you could get like 20, like disassembled be a little cheaper, but for assembled frames, it's like $80 for a 20-pack of assembled.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to get them put together.
So if you could just make it plastic and pay $1 or maybe even less,
of course,
and then you save a lot of money, and then some way to do it, and that's what we're gonna do. And I thought I'd mention that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That'd be cool. I'd like to have a couple of those. Maybe I'll get a box of them or two from you whenever you get that rolling.
Yeah, whenever we get that rolling, I'll hook you up and we'll send you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd be happy to buy them from you, man. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
you'll have to you'll have to sign them all. That way when you're famous, I can say I had some of Grayson's first 3D printed frames.
Yeah, that would be cool. We'll have to do that. Because we're gonna try that out. Because a lot of times, at the Havloft conference, we're looking around. We did not see that much 3D printed stuff. We did see some of it. Like, we had plastic stuff, but how they make those little 3D printed little mini halves. The only person who was selling those was like Brian Coper, Castle Halves, in the Greg Burns booth. Somewhere in the corner. I bet you went by it whenever you kept on going back to the back on that little door. He's like on the where was it? It was like on the corner.
Yeah.
If you went like Greg Burns.
Yeah, he was on. Well, yeah, he was on the right hand side. Yep.
That's right. I would say somewhere around there if you're gonna switch it like that, but yeah, that's just kind of what it was. That's the only booth that I saw that had one of those little 3D printed stuff. At least we have.
But really? Huh.
From what we could see, we did see some others. They were selling some of these, maybe a few supplies, but a lot more like woodenware. So it'd be cool to see more plastic or even beeswax. I think if people could figure out how to use beeswax for that, that'd be something cool to use.
Yeah, that'd be real neat.
If you could, use beeswax for it, and you have enough halves to support that beeswax, and you definitely do it for free.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
Because that's something pretty cool, and that's gonna be something interesting.
Atlanta
is a bigger conference than Havloft, but it changes continents. Havloft is the biggest American conference.
Oh, there we go. I got you.
That's one of the things I say.
Apromodia. When's that thing coming to America next? We'll have to go.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I heard. Like, Havelock is one of the biggest in America, but maybe
Yeah.
one day
Oh yeah.
maybe it'll become bigger than other nations in different places.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really surprising.
It's on its way. I don't know if it'll ever be the biggest, but it's definitely it's top 2 or 3 contender. I would assume, according from what I've heard, I've actually never really been to another one.
That's
I've
right.
been to our state meeting, and that's, our state's big, but there's not like a whole lot of beekeepers that actually go to the Beekeepers Association. So
Yeah,
that's the only other real gathering of beekeepers I've ever been to.
yeah. Because this was actually our first one. We've never been to a single conference, so
Oh wow.
it was pretty. That was pretty interesting to actually go to a conference and see what that was like, and I really enjoyed it. And next year we're gonna do it again, and maybe try to go to the meet and greet, because this year they just did a meet and greet thing Wednesday, or what was it? Was it? It was Thursday. Thursday. And what I could
Mhm.
see, I saw people going live. I saw footage, and I'm glad I wasn't there at all, because if we were there, we'd be there laying this whole big old line. I saw that all
Oh
right,
yeah.
whole building, so it'd be a long line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but Havlas was fun. Everything there was, I really enjoyed it. The vendors were great. This is a question I ask, even though we're actually 2 months away from that. Um, but what was your favorite vendor at the Havlas?
Oh man, I'd have to. Oh, I know who it was. Swinty with the jar filler. That thing was cool, man. I like that thing. Can't quite afford it yet, but we're
Yeah,
on our way.
I saw
No,
some of
that
those
was awesome.
special things where you could just it automatically does. Is that right? Like fill up the bottles or something.
Yes, yes.
And I saw those, and that seems really really cool. But
Yeah, man.
that's expensive. It's
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
high duty. I think that's would be something for like once if somebody had like 2,000 colonies and they needed
Yes, absolutely.
quick, pretty
Once you
quick.
start seriously packing honey, that thing would come in handy. Richard Knoll got one. I don't know if he bought it at Hive Life or if he had it. And then, after Hive Life, he did a video. He did a video shortly after Hive Life of his. And
Yeah,
it was pretty cool because he had 2 or 3 jars right in a row and it filled them up. And then he
yeah,
skipped a big gap and it stopped it and filled that one up. And then he had another gap and then he had 2 or 3 right in a row and it filled them up. It was cool. It could sense when there was a jar and when there wasn't a jar. And
yeah.
that
That's
is awesome.
something that could do that. That's something like if somebody were up to do that and had made like a long thing where it just kind of carry it and stop
Yes.
back and forth, that would be something.
Kind of
That
like what Bob's got with his automated line.
that's right, something like that. I think
Maybe.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, the Alabama conference in September. We're gonna try to go to the Alabama one in what was it, April, but they're sold out already.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Y'all state meeting sold out?
Yeah, we were
Holy
gonna try
cow.
it, and it was maybe a conference, but it was also like it had like a B lab, I think is what it was, and stuff like that
Oh, cool.
in Auburn. I think that's where it was, Auburn.
Oh,
So
yeah. To university or something?
something like that. I don't know the exact name, but maybe in September we'll have to go to one of those meetings in
Yeah.
Alabama. Because people ask me, have I ever been to anyone's in Alabama? And I haven't, but we are going to try to. But once we can find one that's available, before we even before they get sold out. And funny thing about Hive Life is that we were almost on the point to sold out. I think we bought the tickets like a week before they closed the tickets down. So
Yeah.
we were this close about not making it to the Hive Life conference, but we are one of the last people who made it. So we were lucky to get a ticket when we did.
Yeah.
But
I got you. Yeah, I got
yeah,
one of my buddies. I doubt he's watching, but Tristan Ellis, I think from North Carolina. He wanted to go and he never got a ticket. And I knew a guy that was not going to get to go because he just unfortunately had to have knee surgery. So I
yeah,
got him hooked up with his tickets and he got to go. So that was kind of neat.
yeah. Well, I guess I got one more question for you, then we'll end this thing off because we're at
Okay.
an hour and minutes. So this is the main thing I wanted to talk about. So whenever you're working for a full time beekeeper, Bob Binnie, Blue Ridge Hunting Company, that has about 1,600 colonies,
Yeah.
and you have about 60, 80 hives. So what is it
Uh huh.
like to run a business of your own while you're working for a full time person? What's that like?
It's tough, man, but it's worth every minute of it if you can pull it off. Are you, well, I got, that raises a question for me, for you real quick. Are you wanting to run bees full time whenever you get, ready to take off? And
I am.
okay.
We're basically at the house almost every day.
Yeah, I got
We're
you.
on vacation, doing different things.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
also figuring out another place to set out some bees, different little bee yard. So that's gonna be.
Yeah, I got you. Well, man, the one thing I can tell you from not much personal experience, but from what little bit I have, is find you a good commercial beekeeper
Yeah.
who knows what he's doing and he's been successful for a long time, and work with that man and stick with him. And, um, the universe has a way of throwing stuff your way when you do good stuff. So, be sure to do everybody good and everybody right. And eventually, when you work up to when you want to do your own business, just go for it, man. Don't be scared. Jump in head first and hang on for the ride, pretty much.
I think that's the same thing, but I think that's pretty interesting. Because I know that y'all are busy every day. Especially
Absolutely.
spring. Spring is best. Spring and fall is one of your busiest seasons, right?
Yes, absolutely, for sure.
Because spring is one of the busiest seasons. Even for
Mhm.
us, I'm working out there a lot of times, and I want to expand. And one day I want to expand to maybe about 100 hives. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Homeschool, so we have all the time to be able to
Oh,
work.
yeah, absolutely. If you're homeschooled, you'd have plenty of time for 100 hives.
That's right.
Now, you got to have the energy.
I
That's
think that's
another
the
thing.
thing. I was always thinking about, like, I could definitely go up to 100 halves.
Yeah,
The only
absolutely.
thing about it was me having the energy, which I usually do.
Yeah.
But the main thing is, how much it costs you.
Oh, right. Of course, money. Money's the next big step there.
Feeding,
Yep.
just like feeding is a lot because sugar and markets like
Right.
expensive. So it's
I
just
forget what it is if you get it. I think it's not much different if you get it at like Walmart, or it used to not be. It's probably went up now. But when I was first buying it from Walmart, and what Bob was getting it for the semi load was like 2 or 3 cents different a pound.
yeah.
For little guys like us, that's not a big difference. But once you start feeding a couple hundred colonies, then it starts adding up.
That's right.
Yeah.
4-pound bags are pretty expensive.
Ah, what's a 4-pound bag go for? I'm curious.
Oh, in a, in and around our place, I'd say about $5-6.
Oh, wow. Holy crap. Yeah, that is expensive. Dang old.
Yeah, it gets if you're gonna be like feeding 100 half and feeding that once a week, you'd spend $100
Yeah.
a week, and
Which,
that
we
if you
don't.
make a lot of money like throughout your seasons, if you're a person who brings in a lot of money selling stuff, you may be able to pull that
Yes.
off.
Yes.
But if you're
Absolutely.
doing that just 100 halves just for honey and not really selling any of it just for your
Oh,
own
of
pleasure,
course.
then that's the point where it's like, we don't have all the money to support these bees.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You definitely can know that happens all the time. Because whenever you're working with bees, you have to make sure you buy all the equipment, the food. Okay, here we go. $17 for a 25-pound bag.
That's not terrible because, well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's not too bad. It's a little expensive.
it
Hmm.
is. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I think it's went up a little bit. I don't know. Somebody could probably do the math on their phone real quick, but do whatever 51 cent a pound is, and that's what I used to buy it for. I kind of get on Bob with the semi load now and get whatever I need, and just pay him up whenever I can.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
another thing too. If you work for the right commercial guy,
yeah.
he might cut you a deal on some bee equipment, or if he's got some rotted boxes he wants to get rid of, or, if he's making an order, you can say, hey, can I get this, this, and this, and pay you back whenever, or pay you back as soon as you pay me. But, if you want to do it, you can, man.
Okay.
You got a good handle. Oh, what we got?
Oh,
$2.49 for a
for
4-pound bag.
let's
Dang.
see.
Okay. So
Must be different each place, right?
yeah.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, probably. I'm not sure where everybody's from, but let's
I
see.
think Lisa's from Alabama, so maybe I sometimes get it wrong, but what I can remember that's how much it was.
Yeah, I got you.
Maybe if you add tax and everything with it,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
but maybe just the sugar alone, if you didn't pay tax or anything, you'd probably pay about $3, maybe
I
$2.
got you. Okay. Yeah.
Millie B sells bulk feed
Bulk
there in
feed there in
Florida.
Mariana, Florida. Yeah. And that's another thing too. Anytime you can buy in bulk, if you can afford it, you'll get a better deal, which you may or may not know that already. I don't know, but
Yeah, we definitely know that. Because I've always I was also kind of thinking about getting some in bulk sometime, but maybe not just yet. I'll keep on going for what I have, and then once I get a little
yeah.
bigger,
Oh yeah.
about 50
Yeah.
halves, then I'm gonna start buying in bulk to save some money.
I was about to say,
Definitely,
when you get to about 40 hives, you're going to start needing a good little quantity hanging out. But
yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. So let's see. So that is 68 point. That's 68 cents a pound for 25 pound bag.
Yeah. That's a lot steeper than it used to be.
Yeah.
But, if that's what it's going for, you just got to figure that into what it
What
comes
you're
out to be, how much feed you got to put on a colony to make the jar of honey to put on the table to sell, or put
yeah.
in the nuke to feed and sell. And, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we always figure out the pricing, and maybe you can also
Yeah,
make a little bit of it, and then you kind of set yourself up, and then that's about it.
absolutely. Yep.
I guess that's about it. We answered some questions. You asked me some questions. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it. I think everybody
Absolutely.
who's watching, the viewers, enjoyed it. So
Yeah,
we'll
man.
go ahead and end it off here. Thanks, guys, for watching. Who's watching on replay? We appreciate you, and we'll
Oh,
see you
yeah.
on next. Thanks, Seth.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.
See ya.